students. This week we are working on Unit 8. Let's go to the Unit 8 test and the content. So I'm going to go right to the content. I think that's easier for me. So going right down to the test. Under balance, right click on your test, open the link in a new window and size it down. Whoops. Start that quiz and then head over to the Unit 8 content balance and click on the unit introduction. Size that window down. Perfect. Okay, so let's read our questions, shall we? Question number 1. Which of the following artists watched and then painted from memory the fire in England's House of Parliament? JMW Turner, Naum Gabo, or Gustav Klimt? Number 2. In Inkscape's symmetry effects, what does translation do? Does it spin a tile around? Does it reflect a tile both sideways and up and down? Does it move a tile sideways or up and down? Or does it reflect a mirror image of the original tile? What did constructivism focus on? Using art for practical purposes, communicating symbolism, expressing sorrow through art, creating art to express beauty? Question 4. Which of the following artists was a constructivist sculptor? Gustav Klimt, George O'Keefe, Naum Gabo, or JMW Turner? Question 5. Gustav Klimt helped form a group of artists in order to do what? Give awards to artworks that were recognized and approved by the Austrian Artists Society, encourage other artists to create sculptures that served a practical purpose for society, exhibit art that was rejected by the traditional conservatism of the Austrian Artists Society, or promote the mass production and reprinting of artworks. Question 6. What was the name for close but not perfect symmetrical balance? Informal balance, visual weight, asymmetrical balance, or relieved symmetry? Question 7. Radial balance is based on what shape? Circle, star, triangle, or square? Question 8. Which type of balance usually refers to an artwork that's identical on the left and right sides of an imaginary vertical line drawn down the center? Relieved symmetry, symmetrical balance, radial balance, or informal balance? Question 9. What is Georgia O'Keeffe known for painting? Animals, children, and toys, military scenes, flowers, bones, rocks, and shells, or French architecture and landscapes? Question 10. What do concentric circles share? The same colors, the same pattern, the same center point, or the same size? Let's find out. Balance. In this section, you will learn about different kinds of balance, learn about how different artists use balance in art and design, break a circle up into 4 sections, decorate a circle section with a drawing tool, use the Create Tiled Clones command to make the circle section into a circle, decorate a circle using the Path Union command, arrange copies of a circular shapes in a balanced way. Balanced overview. In this lesson, Balanced Overview, you'll learn about balance and how it's used in different types of artwork and designs. Balance. Balance is a way of thinking about how to arrange the art elements in an artwork to give different parts of the artwork equal importance. For example, when 2 or more objects seem equally important, then there is a balance between them. Let us learn about different ways to achieve balance in art. Symmetrical balance refers to artwork that's identical on the left and right sides of an imaginary vertical line drawn down the center of an artwork. I saw that over here. Which one was that? Refers to an artwork that's identical on the left and right sides. That's symmetrical balance. Boom. The top and bottom of an artwork can have symmetrical balance, but that's not usually what people mean when they talk about symmetrical balance. Symmetrical balance between the left and right sides of an artwork is sometimes called formal balance. The right and left halves of an artwork can be balanced symmetrically, even if the top and bottom halves are not. For example, the painting of a symmetrically balanced vase with a wide base and a narrow neck would be symmetrically balanced horizontally, but not vertically. If the vase were drawn on a piece of paper and then you folded it along the center vertical line, the 2 halves of the vase would line up. Some elements of an artwork might be balanced symmetrically while other elements might not be. For example, a painting of a centered vase with an orange on the left side would not have symmetrical balance, even though the vase would be symmetrically balanced. Except for patterns used on tiles and textiles, as well as in architecture, it's rare for artists to make their art perfectly balanced symmetrically. Artists will often introduce variation between the two sides of an artwork in order to make a symmetrically balanced artwork more interesting. Relieved symmetry is the name for close, but not perfect, symmetrical balance. In art, relieved symmetry is far more common than complete symmetrical balance. And I know I saw that, relieved symmetry somewhere. What is the name for close but not perfect symmetrical balance? Relieved symmetry. Excellent. Asymmetrical balance usually refers to artwork that is not the same on the left and right sides, but has balance anyway. Asymmetrical balance could also refer to the top and bottom halves of an artwork, but it's not usually what people mean. Asymmetrical balance is sometimes called informal balance. Asymmetrical balance is achieved through the use of visual weight. Visual weight is how light or heavy something looks. In the same way that movement draws the eye in a certain direction, objects with more visual weight tend to draw the eye to them. For example, darker objects seem heavier than lighter objects. Larger objects seem heavier than smaller objects, and textured form seems heavier than smooth ones. Artists can create asymmetrical balance by experimenting with different types of visual weight through the use of different sizes, shapes, and textures. For example, two small textured objects might have the same visual weight as one large smooth object. There are no rules about how an artist can make an artwork that has asymmetrical balance. Asymmetrical balance is subjective, which means that some people might see an artwork as balanced while others might not. Off-balance is a term for an extreme form of asymmetry. An off-balance artwork has asymmetry that overpowers an artwork. This can often make it seem unfinished or poorly planned. In an artwork, asymmetrical balance feels controlled, while off-balance artwork feels out of control. Like anything related to art, whether something is off balance or not is subjective. In other words, it's based on the impressions of the artwork's viewers. However, an off-balance artwork might be an effect that an artist is trying to achieve with their artwork in the hope of inspiring unease, distaste, or suspense in the viewers of their artwork. For example, an artwork might be suspenseful if its asymmetrical balance makes it look like it might fall over. Radial balance is balance based on a circle, with design starting at a center point and moving outward in all directions. The iris of an eye is an example of something that has radial balance. Radial balance is often used in architecture for things like round windows and domes. I know I saw something about radial balance. Radial balance is based on what shape? A circle. Oh, look at this. We have a checkpoint. Let's check it out. Match the type of balance in column A to the image in column B. All right, so let's see here. Number 1. That looks a little off balance to me. I'm going to go with off balance on that one. Number 2 looks symmetrical. Number 3 is radial balance based on circles, right? And number 4 is asymmetrical. I don't know if I got that right or not, but hopefully I did. Rule of thirds is an organizational guideline that painters, photographers, and designers can use to make their work more visually interesting. The rule of thirds has probably been around for more than 200 years. The rule of thirds divides an artwork up into a 3x3 grid made up of 9 equal squares or rectangles. The rule suggests that lining up an artwork's subjects with an intersection of the grid, which would be these points right here, or along the lines of the grid, which they've done. Look at the horizon line and the sailboat masts are on the lines. will make the artwork more visually interesting and engaging to the viewer. Artists who properly apply the rule of the thirds to their artwork will end up with an asymmetrical balance. So asymmetry is good. It's not boring. Sometimes symmetry can be boring. The rule of thirds can be especially helpful for photographers and filmmakers as they decide how to frame a shot. You'll practice using the thirds with Inkscape later. Wow. Another preview. Here we go. So start this quiz. Here we go. Checkpoint. Select the image that uses the rule of thirds in its composition. So we're looking for thirds lines. Oh, look at that right there. Do you see the thirds lines right there? It's going to be that one. Yeah. I would definitely go with this. You got the horizon on the bottom third, and you've got this lighthouse on the right third line. Balance in art. Balance is present in all art to some degree, whether it's symmetrical, asymmetrical, radial, or completely off balance. Let us learn about specific artists and their use of balance. Naum Gabo was a 20th century Russian sculptor, a member of the constructivism movement, and one of the pioneers of kinetic art. He was fluent in several languages and eventually settled in England, where he received a knighthood for his artistic efforts. Constructivism was a Russian art movement of the early 20th century, which means 1900s, which focused on art used for practical purposes as opposed to art for art's sake. Early constructivist art was three-dimensional and focused on the art's materials and how the artwork existed in space by emphasizing and revealing how the artwork was built. For example, a constructivist artwork might use metal pieces held together by visible bolts or welded seams, which would reveal to the viewer how it was put together. One of Gabo's later artworks used thousands of plastic threads strung across vertically stacked plastic hoops. The artwork was meant to impress on the viewer not only an interesting visual effect, but also the skill and care taken in its construction. Later, constructivists are involved. Sorry, hold on. Ooh, this is going way down. Later, constructivist art involved designs for books and posters that communicated specific political or socially relevant ideas, according to the constructivist idea that art should have a purpose. Naum Gabo's essay entitled Realistic Manifesto attempted to separate art from traditional elements such as the use of lines, color, and form by replacing them with things like depth, direction, and kinetic rhythms. The example photo is of an untitled Naum Gabo metal construction in front of a department store in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. The sculpture's massive symmetrical balance dominates the space in front of the building, while the wires inside the sculpture's largest form add a more subtle symmetry. Let's take a look at that. Ding. In addition, the empty space in the top half of the sculpture forms an asymmetrical balance with the dark, intricate shape of the bottom half. The sculpture also has a nice formal symmetry. Formal meaning you can draw a line, a vertical line right down the middle, and fold it in half, and there'll be mirror images on either side. You know, there were some questions. I know that Naum Gabo was included, so let's see if any of these, which of the following artists watched the painting? No. What did constructivism focus on? Using art for practical purposes. Gustav Klimt was a 19th century Austrian symbolist painter, muralist, and sketch artist. Klimt helped form a group of artists called the Vienna Secession in order to exhibit artwork rejected by the traditional conservatism of the Austrian Artist Society. What did that say? Helped form a group of artists called the Vienna Secession in order to exhibit artwork rejected by traditional conservatism of the Austrian Society, the oldest and most influential group at the time. I know there's a question about this guy. Let's see, where is it? Gustav Klimt helped form a group of artists in order to exhibit art that was rejected by the traditional conservatism of the Austrian Artist Society. All right, Klimt's artwork is quite well known and is often reprinted on posters and art brochures. He's the one that does the kiss. In 2003, Klimt was commemorated on a 100-euro gold coin, dressed in his usual painting outfit of robes and sandals. In this portrait, Klimt paints Mara Pravesi, almost perfectly centered, but the balance of the painting is thrown off slightly through differences in the girl's posture, clothing, and the background of the painting. It is a bit off-center. It is the contrast between the painting's symmetry and asymmetry which makes this painting more interesting than it might have been if it had been perfectly balanced and symmetrical. Georgia O'Keefe. Oh, I don't think I remember seeing anything about anything else about Klimt. Okay, we're just going to go on. Georgia O'Keefe. I know there's one about this. Georgia O'Keefe was a 20th century painter from the American Southwest whose paintings of flowers, animal bones, rocks, and shells. Where was that one? There it is. Flowers, bones, rocks, and shells. Established a strongly recognizable and enduring style. In 1916, a friend of O'Keefe's showed her artwork to the photographer and gallery owner Alfred Stieglitz. He was so impressed by O'Keefe's art that he exhibited her artwork in his gallery without her permission. She traveled to New York to confront Stieglitz, but he convinced her to leave the paintings up in his gallery. Her creative output combined with his promotional efforts led to her international fame and financial success, as well as to a marriage between them. O'Keefe's painting Blue and Green Music is an early example of her work and provides a good example of asymmetrical balance. Let's take a look at that. The light, flowery, or fiery shapes dominate the center of the painting but are balanced on nearly every side by dark, angular shapes. The dark, straight-lined blue shape in the top right corner is counterbalanced by the light, wavy shapes in the bottom left corner. Lovely. JMW Turner. Joseph Mallard William Turner was a 19th century English romantic painter who worked in oil-based paints, but is perhaps most well known for his use of watercolors. He also worked with Prince. Not Prince the musician, though. At a young age, Turner had several wealthy and supportive patrons of his art, which allowed him the freedom to focus on his art until he became successful enough to support himself. This painting by Turner from 1835 shows England's burning Parliament building from a great distance with a huge column of fire and smoke reaching up into the sky. It's based on a real event that happened in 1834 when the Palace of Westminster, home to England's House of Parliament, caught fire and destroyed most of the palace. The fire was caused by overhead chimney flues from the burning of sticks in the palace basement. The fire lasted for many hours and attracted huge crowds of observers. Turner watched the fire from a boat in the River Thames and painted it many times from memory. The shape of the Parliament buildings can be seen near the center of the painting. Turner achieves an asymmetrical balance in his painting through the reflection of the smoke and fire in the water in the bottom half of the painting. The boats in the bottom right corner of the painting form an angle which is similar to the angle of the smoke in the top left corner. This similarity adds more balance to the painting. Beautiful. Okay, let's see. I think we have some questions we need to answer. Okay, so which of the following artists watched and then painted from the memory the fire of England's House of Parliament? Yes, Turner. Very good. All right, I think that's about where we're at right now. Okay. Which of the following was a constructivist sculpture? I thought we already answered that one. Maybe not. Naum Galbo, right? Is the one that did that crazy, funky, wacky sculpture. Oh, we are doing good. What do we got here? Okay. Preview. Checkpoint. Open her up. Based on the artwork you've seen in this lesson, who made this artwork? Oh my goodness, that looks just like that burning of the House of Parliament, doesn't it? I would definitely go with Turner on that. All right, today you're going to be doing a project with concentric circles. Concentric circles are circles of different sizes, all sharing the same center point. Oh, I think we had a question. What do concentric circles share? The same center point. Very good. I think there might just be like one question left that we haven't answered. Which one is it? In Inkscape symmetry effects, what does translation do? Ooh, that's our last question. We'll find it. Okay, so this makes an image that looks like a bullseye with small circles nested inside a larger one. Symmetry effects use different combinations of translation, rotation, and reflection. Translation moves a tile sideways or up and down. Rotation spins a tile around. Different symmetries use more or less rotation. Reflection works like a mirror and reflects a mirror image of the original tile. Reflection plus reflection means that the tiles are reflected both sideways and up and down. All right, so what was the question? What does translation do? Move a tile sideways or up and down. All right, so perfect. You're done. Make sure you save all your responses and submit your quiz. Thank you.